I'm a big proponent of, I fail every business I start. I fail quickly. I fail tactically. I learn on the other side of it. I think that's the piece. And I define what success and failure is too. I mean, I think entrepreneurs, this day and age, it's sometimes your baby's ugly, man. Right. And I think it's hard to do that. So like I've done it because I've had businesses where like it's a great cause. It's a great, everything is great, but sometimes just the market's not ready for it. And you have to be able to have the foresight early to call, hey, in 6 months, it's going to be doing this much of revenue, which that's what it's going to do. But you need to make that call early because 6 months in, it's your baby. Right now it's emotional and it's real. Oh, well, I'll just give it one more month. And that's where like you've got to go through. So failing fast is something that is liberating because like, cool, you can try it again in a year, right? But just go towards it, define what success or failure is, and then move on. But just get started. That's when you actually learn.
Hey, this is a quick shout out from one of our awesome sponsors. Check this out.
There's no doubt everyone loves true crime podcasts these days, and there's a new podcast that you will want to add to your playlist, Murder Mondays. Host Nicole Simmons travels and interviews victims and families of murderers in South Carolina. She's a small-town girl who's a wife and business owner, and Murder Mondays is a passion project for her. She brings you the facts and personal stories of the people affected by the most heinous crimes in South Carolina. If you enjoy true crime podcast, Murder Mondays is for you. Murder Mondays with your host, Nicole Simmons, available on Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and other podcast players. Add Murder Mondays with Nicole Simmons to your playlist right now.
Jeremy, you're a husband, dad, speaker. You're a serial entrepreneur who has founded/funded 100 plus companies, 2 of which are on the Inc. 500, America's fastest growing private companies. Number 21, number 4, which is awesome. I'm stoked to have you on the show, man. Thank you for your time.
No, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Dude, I like to kick things off by, to start things off. You grew up in Bardstown, Kentucky, I think, where your parents were both worked at the post office there. What was childhood like for you, man?
That's right, man. Bourbon capital of the world, still a good connoisseur of and supporter of the local economy.
Yeah.
Look, my small town America, great, stable, home life. Again, as you mentioned, both my mom and stepdad worked at the post office. So not really tons of entrepreneurial environment there, but my dad, and both of my grandfathers had entrepreneurial kind of spirit. So I maybe skipped that generation and kind of really instilled in me. And yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And I was going to ask, who was your biggest entrepreneurial sort of influence? Was that your dad, your grandfather at that point?
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad passed away when I was 7 in a freak motorcycle accident. Oh, and that was a big lesson. I mean, it's a lesson for me, and I think I talk about this a lot. I actually up here in New York speaking today or yesterday. And, I have like 3 kind of things I try to, really weigh in on. It's tomorrow, failure, and events. And we can chat about those throughout the show. But, just that idea that you're just not promised tomorrow. So it was at that young age where I think I was really pushing to try to, do more, go faster, see more, be more, right? And I think that was just that always drive, just to kind of go through, not necessarily having a plan of where I was going, but a direction anyway.
Gotcha. Oh man. So good, dude. And as I was reading through your bio there, man, I mean, you started day trading at 16, you go to college at 19, you're making 30 to 50 grand a day. You build up to 2 million and then you lose it all in 4 days. Unbelievable. Like what's going through your mind when the money's flowing in? And then when it goes away, what's the mindset like at that point?
Well, I mean, in that moment, and, I think any entrepreneur listeners out there, we've all had these punches in the face, man. I've had a couple, right? Yeah. And you would think the $2 million was the worst punch in the face I had, but I've had worse.
Sure.
We'll talk through. But man, when you're in that moment, you just like, fuck, the world's ending, right? It's crashing against you. You have no options, and it's just really hopelessness. But then you have to have strength and resolve. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do in your mindset, but failure and these things, are temporary and they can actually be quick if you let them, right? Yeah. So, it's not a great place, but you step back and trigger in that, that you can get through it, right? The event piece I talk about is, looking back on that now is probably one of the best lessons I ever learned in life. And thank God I lost it all, because I didn't know any better, right? Nothing always goes up, right? And it was a great lesson to learn when I didn't have family or kids that were depending on me. But, I think now looking back on it, you have a choice, and I don't really believe that there's any good or bad things that happen to us.
Yeah.
I think life is just a series of events, and it's the actions and it's the emotions that we actually apply to that event that will later on determine if it was good or bad, right? Me losing that $2 million could have been, a defining moment. It could have been the rest of my story could have been, hey, I wanted to get out of small town America. I took a shot. I went to a big city, made a couple $1 million, failed, and went back home. That could have been my story.
Sure.
But I wasn't letting that event define me, and just pick myself back up.
Oh, it's so good, man. And my big thing is I love to just tell people is like our past and other people's opinions doesn't define our future, man. At any point we can make a change, man. We just keep going.
Right.
And I love that you use the reference punch in the face, because I used to have an MMA podcast. And then when I switched over to the business side, I used to say, look, man, as entrepreneurs, we're always getting punched in the face. And how many times can we do that? But we keep going, man. So it's so good.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, being involved in trading and, for so long, the market's wild, crypto is wild right now. If someone wanted to get started in trading, like what's the best place for them to start?
Yeah, man, I think it's just doing your own research. I mean, like, dude, when I was doing this, I was, 19, and I was reading like Investor Business Daily, and like I think it was like the Raging Bull. I don't know if that's even still around, but it's like a message board, right? That's like an old school Reddit that's really antiquated. And I was like going through and looking at like basic forums, which wasn't the best place to get unbiased advice. But dude, now information's at your fingertips, man. Like the whole idea, like Google's your friend, bro. Like that's what I say, right? I mean, Google, you can find out anything, and just start, just go through and immerse yourself in it and learn. I think that's it. And I think the biggest piece on that is what I just said, the last part, just get started.
Yes.
I've never had a business plan that actually worked to the T. So why bother? I'm not saying that's not an instruction to be aimlessly in life and just go lollipops and gumdrops, but just like, hey, I want to take up crypto trading. Yeah. Okay. That's what I want to do. Then figure out where you want to go. Because if you have this, paralysis by analysis and just don't get started, you're never going to do it. And like, you will actually learn when you fail, right? That's, I mean, I'm a big proponent of, I fail every business I start, I fail quickly, I fail tactically, I learn on the other side of it. I think that's the piece. And I define what success and failure is too. I mean, I think entrepreneurs, this day and age, it's sometimes your baby's ugly, man. Right. And I think it's hard to do that. So like I've done it, because I've had businesses where like, it's a great cause. It's a great, I mean, everything is great, but sometimes just the market's not ready for it. And you have to be able to have the foresight early to call, hey, in 6 months, it's going to be doing this much of revenue, which that's what it's going to do. But you need to make that call early, because 6 months in, it's your baby. Right now it's emotional and it's real. Oh, well, I'll just give it one more month. And that's where like, you've got to go through. So failing fast is something that is liberating, because like, cool, you can try it again in a year, right? But just go towards it, define what success or failure is, and then move on. But just get started. That's when you actually learn.
Yeah. Oh, so good, man. So good. Hey, this is a quick shout out from one of our awesome sponsors. Check this out. Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by Tranquil Turtle Massage. Tracy over there, the founder, she's a small town girl from Montana, loves God, loves her family, loves her friends, loves working out, fishing, and camping. She has a passion for helping those in need and enjoys being creative with woodworking, crocheting, healthy baking, pottery, and cooking. Look, she began her massage journey back in 2010, where she graduated from massage school up in Anchorage, Alaska. She specializes in her signature massages, the Hanu Infusion and the Hanu Ashiatsu, as well as the gua sha and manual lymphatic drainage. If you're looking for a massage specialist and someone who can get you feeling good, go see Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage. And while you're there, check out CDA Microblading, offering Coeur d'Alene's best tattoo brows, plasma fibroblast, tightening, and PMU services right there in the heart of downtown Coeur d'Alene. Make sure you book your appointment at pnwmobilemassage.com. When you worked for Fidelity and you decided to kind of break off, you left because you weren't being fulfilled. For you, what does that definition of success versus fulfillment mean to you?
Yeah, great question. I'm obviously an entrepreneur, but I don't, I've got a lot of opinions, but this isn't like a complete overarching macro statement on corporate America. Yeah. But at least for creatives, right? I think that that's where you go to die. I truly is. So what I was experiencing, I was making a fucking ton of money, right?
Yeah.
Which was great. And I was living in New York City at the time, making a ton of money. That's great. But man, what I saw, my big realization was I was, 20 something, driving a BMW, doing good. And there was a guy 40 years my senior driving a Bentley, doing the exact same thing. Only thing is he was making a bit more money, but we were creating nothing. So, and that's why I told my mom I was resigning, and she literally, okay, now you just lost $2 million, kid. You pulled yourself back out, and now you're going to quit that makes no sense. I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, but I want to take a crack. And I did that, and that company's 20 years old today. But for me, money is, money is a great utility, and I've been very blessed and fortunate because it helps provide a lot of different things. But man, it can't just be about the money. It just can't. You've got to have what your passion is. My first year in business, I made $6,000. I lived in Chelsea, man. That doesn't go far. But like, it was that time of struggle where like you go through and you got to figure it out. I didn't come up from any money, so failure wasn't an option for me. Right? I didn't have a safety net, so it was it was binary. It was 0 and 1. I was either going to do it or not do it.
Right. I mean, like you mentioned, you made $6,000 the first year. Now you're generating hundreds of millions of dollars with Delk Enterprises. For those who don't know, what is your business about? What do you guys do, man?
So we are, started in real estate development and building materials. Built that company up and then sold it to my partner, and that's still going around. You'll see a trend in just a second. We started and I co-founded an animal health company doing regenerative medicine and stem cells for dogs, cats, and horses with degenerative joint disease using adipose-derived stem cells. We took that company public, took it private, and exited. And then, so the last 10 years, to answer your question, then I was in a pharmacy business, integrative health, and then we've got an epigenetics company. So it's predominantly the last 10 years have been in healthcare, which is something I'm passionate about, but it's really something that, with Delk, we try to either, do early stage startups or do acquisitions to have some bolt-on synergies of where we may be able to help. And then now I'm doing a lot more of these podcasts. I'm speaking because, I don't know if you know Roland Frazier.
Yeah, totally.
Roland. So I was with him in San Diego a few weeks ago. And, he said something that's just like so profound. Like sometimes you don't value what you know because you know it. Mm-hmm. I was like, that seems pretty fucking simple, but like, it's so profound, right? So and because I've got all this stuff. So now like the second chapter in my life, I'm kind of looking like, hey, maybe my story can help. Because like you give the highlight reel, but dude, behind that highlight reel is 20 million slaps in the faces, failures, all these other things that no one knows about. And that's the important bit, right? Is all the shit that you go through to get there, because you get better and better and better as long as you keep moving forward. You stop, you're dead, man. So you got to keep moving forward. So now I've got a book coming out later this year, and hopefully I can help some entrepreneurs go through it and let them know it's okay and accept failure. I'm telling you, failure is your friend. It really is.
I do the same thing when I'm coaching clients through podcasting, man. Like you just have to be okay to just knowing that you're going to suck when you first start, man. Like you're going to fail, you're going to screw up, man. I recorded an interview with Ken Shamrock, and halfway through I realized that it wasn't even recording. And I was like, this has got to be the worst thing ever. Right.
Right.
And of course his team I reached out. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but we have to re-record. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. But for me, like being an early podcast, like so much embarrassment right there,
Right.
But with your book, I mean, you're going to go into the good, the bad, the ugly of entrepreneurship. What are readers going to be able to learn from that book that you got coming out?
So the title of the book is Without a Plan. And I think it's a memoir-ish, right? So it's not really tactical, but it's a memoir of unbound action and failing my way to success. That's really it. And I think it's really anchored, embraced in failure, right? And in the fact that all of my successes, every one of them, has been based on the failure. If I didn't lose $2 million in those 4 days, it wouldn't have forced me to get odd job to odd job to odd job to by happenstance end up on Wall Street, where I wanted to dream about living up when I was a kid from Kentucky, right? So you never know where you're going. Just forward is the only important. What happened in the past, man, doesn't fucking matter. It is what it is. You can't change it. Only direction is forward, and you just got to keep going and go without a plan, because that's the piece. Like, I think every entrepreneur I hear, like, well, yeah, I've got the biggest idea. It's the greatest thing. It's good. I'm just trying to work this out. I'm sure I want to work. Like, dude, no one has a plan for this. Like, no one, right? Have an idea. And I think it's proof that it's kind of worked, because I've applied the same logic, and the logic is simple. You've heard it. It's business is business, and business is done between people and people and people. That's it. So when I go into an industry, and I told you I'm in finance to building materials to consumer goods to healthcare, I don't care how it's been done. Just don't. I'm going to apply my rules, and sometimes it doesn't work, but when it does, you've got magic.
Yeah. Oh, so good, man. So good. I love to finish my show by asking a fun question, because I'm a big music guy. Like, what's a favorite type of music for you that you like to listen to?
Man, I'm diverse. Definitely in the mood. You know, I hated country music growing up. And then living in New York, I love it. So, but I've got, you know, Jay-Z's probably, I think he's the Sinatra of our day. So I love Jay-Z. I love Frank Sinatra. And then, you know, Jamie Johnson, you know, good country, Jamie Johnson, Chris Stapleton, all those guys. But it's all about mood, right? Like, how are you feeling? Sometimes it's just now turning springtime in Kentucky, so the weather's getting decent. So cranking the windows down and jamming to some old country is a nice day.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You know, and I'll put all the links down below, but what's the best place that you like for people to connect with you on?
Yeah, I'm jeremydelk.com is the site, and I'm Jeremy S. Delk on all socials.
Awesome. Jeremy, such an honor to have you on my show, man. You're an absolute world changer, dude. I love your story, man. Excited for your book, man. And please let me know when that drops. I'll be promoting that for you for sure, man. Thank you again for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a great day, man. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to take a listen or a watch. It's truly an honor to be able to speak with such amazing guests. And I hope that they've made an impact on your life in some way, shape, or form. And you could do me one big favor. That would be huge. Click that subscribe button, and then second favor, hit that share button. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate you. Keep changing the world. I believe in you.